From Neural Newscast, this is Buzz, tracking what's trending and why it matters.
What is trending, Internet? I am Lila Grant, and you're listening to Buzz.
And I'm Jonah Klein. We've got a high-stakes feed today, from the Supreme Court to the banks of Paris.
We have to start with the border, Jonah. The New York Times is reporting that a majority of the Supreme Court seems ready to give the Trump administration a huge green light to turn away asylum seekers at the Mexico border.
This is massive for the digital conversation. If you look at X right now, the reaction is split right down the middle. On one side, you have people like Eric Doherty calling it a victory against what he terms an asylum scam used to facilitate illegal crossings.
Exactly. The framing from the administration's supporters is that this ends a loophole. But for human rights advocates, it's a terrifying signal that the legal right to seek safety is being dismantled at the highest level.
And the justices weren't exactly hiding their leaning during arguments. It sounds like the majority is focused on the executive branch's power to manage the border as it sees fit, which would be a total game changer for immigration policy in 2026.
It's the kind of ruling that defines a presidency, Jonah. But speaking of the president, there's a different kind of border-related story trending, specifically the borders of a mail-in ballot envelope.
For sure. According to the Washington Post, President Trump just cast a mail-in ballot for a special election in Palm Beach County.
Which wouldn't be news for anyone else, but Trump has been very vocal about pressuring Congress to curb mail-in voting, often calling it a source of fraud.
Right. He's essentially bashing the method while actively using it to make sure his voice is heard in his own state house district near Mar-a-Lago. ABC News confirmed it through public records.
The comments on X are predictably wild. People are pointing out the do as I say, not as I do energy. It's like a classic example of how digital footprints and public records can create these viral moments of perceived hypocrisy.
It's the optics, Leela. You can't tell the country that a system is broken while you're standing at your mailbox using that very system. It's creating a lot of friction even within his own base.
Well, from mailboxes in Florida to bank vaults in France. This next one is sending shockwaves through the finance world. Bloomberg reports that French financial prosecutors searched the Rothschild bank offices in Paris last week.
This isn't just a standard audit either. This is reportedly tied to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Specifically, they're looking into a former employee with connections to Epstein.
The name Rothschild already carries a ton of weight in internet culture, often being at the center of various theories. But this raid brings it into the legal scrutiny of real-world investigations.
The demand for accountability for Epstein's elite network has never really gone away, Leela. Every time a new name or a new institution gets pulled into the orbit, the digital conversation explodes.
And it's not just conspiracy talk. AFP and other outlets are confirming the search happened on Friday. It shows that the child trafficking investigation is still very much active and moving into some of the most powerful offices in Europe.
It's heavy stuff, and it ties into a broader theme we're seeing today, a total lack of trust in institutions, which leads us to some really difficult news out of the juvenile justice system.
The case of Jusiah Jones is causing a massive outcry. He's 12 years old and was accused of a truly heinous act, shoving rocks into a young girl's mouth to facilitate an assault by his friend.
Wait, what? A judge just released him to house arrest and the internet is reeling. You've got people like Kevin Sorbo and Dale Partridge highlighting the case as an example of what they call judicial softness or even partiality.
It's a flashpoint for the debate on how we treat juvenile offenders. When the crime is that brutal, does age still warrant leniency? The social media consensus right now seems to be a resounding no.
And it's not the only story about justice in minors. Haaretz is reporting on a Palestinian minor who died in an Israeli prison. A judge ruled he was likely starved, but then closed the case without further action.
That is a haunting contrast, Jonah.
Whether it's domestic juvenile courts or international military detention, the way we treat the most vulnerable is clearly the trending signal of the day.
It's all about the stakes of the system. Who gets mercy, who gets neglected, and who is held to account. We are seeing these tensions play out in real time across every platform.
That's The Pulse today. I am Leela Grant.
And I'm Jonah Klein. Thanks for riding the wave with us on Buzz.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. The views and interpretations expressed do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Neural Newscast. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com. For more information, visit buzz.neuralnewscast.com.
This has been Buzz on Neural Newscast, tracking what's trending and why it matters.